Abu Dhabi 2021 was scripted. Now, I know that many of you, when you hear that, won't be able to accept it. You'll think, I'm the mad one. But I'm going to play you through the script. I'm going to play you through what Martin Brundle and David Croft were actually saying. And they were saying it before it happened. They were telling you what was going to happen before it happened. And when you actually analyse what should be taking place based on the actual specific dynamics of the specific situation we should have been watching, what they were describing should not have happened. Now, let me just demonstrate to you. At this very moment in time, we're looking at the data view of the Grand Prix. And we're at a point in time, so I'll have to go back there because I wanted to try and make it as big as possible. It didn't work. We are seeing Sergio Perez now pitting after he has held up Lewis Hamilton, costing Lewis Hamilton 8 seconds in that race by this notion of Perez being this great defensive driver. Now, Perez started the race on soft compound tyre, right? Lewis Hamilton started the race on medium compound tyre. Every runner in that race that started that race on medium compound tyres, barring here 18th place Antonio Giovinazzi, who's hung it out here until lap 17 approximately. Let's have a look here. Are we on lap 22 now? So he's about lap 18 is Giovinazzi. But here's George Russell, lap 22 of 58. George Russell started the race on those medium compound tyres. He's still going. Nicholas Latifi starts the race on the medium compound tyre. He's still going. Kimi Raikkonen starts the race on the medium compound tyre. He's still going on them. Lance Stroll starts the race on the medium compound tyre. Still going on them. Sebastian Vettel still going on the medium compound tyre. Valtteri Bottas in the other Mercedes starts the race on medium compound tyre. Still going. Yuki Tsunoda starts the race on medium compound tyre. Still going. Lewis Hamilton has a reputation for not being hard on his tyres. Often is able to extract more life out of his tyres than other drivers on the grid due to the manner in which he drives. Driving smoothly, not scrubbing his tyres so much. And yet, he pitted when he did, which was on lap 14, after completing just 14 laps on those tyres. Wasn't showing any signs of performance deterioration. Was not showing any signs of performance deterioration. Mercedes did not even wait to understand what lap times Verstappen was then putting in on the hard compound of tyre. They didn't do it. So, Pete Bonington, supposedly Lewis Hamilton's friend, his race engineer, they're all in on it. They were all in on Mercedes being complicit with manufacturing this event to be a show. They manufactured the event to be an entire show. Now, that can be proven with just this one event. How many of them are like this? Well, your guess is as good as mine. We could probably go through and scrutinise a lot more. But this one was a show. Abu Dhabi 2021 was an entirely fraudulent construct. There was no need for Hamilton to pit. You're up against a car that's on these soft compound tyres, and soft compound tyres are less durable than the medium. They will wear out sooner. Their performance will drop off sooner. Look at Sergio Perez. He gets 21 laps out of a set of soft compound tyres. All the other soft compound tyre runners, well, There's Mick Schumacher, he's changed off of them. There's Daniel Ricciardo, he's changed off of them. Esteban Ocon's changed off of them. Leclerc's changed off them. Norris has changed off them. Carlos Sainz changed off them. And now it's just Perez. Max changed off them after doing 13 laps. Perez got 21 laps. Everybody else is on 20 laps on their mediums. Now, Mercedes, how do you ensure that you do not trip up over your rival team's second car? Do you pit your driver and make sure that they come out behind them, giving the other team the chance of using their second driver as a blocker to you to thwart your progress? Why would you do that if you didn't need to? Why would you do that when you weren't losing performance in those tyres? And we'll take you through, not in this video, because I'm going to take you through the audio of Brundle and Crofty, who were telling you what was going to happen before it happened. But we'll go through the Lewis Hamilton audio to his race engineer. And we'll see if Lewis Hamilton was complaining about his tyres and whether he was feeling the need to change off of those medium compound tyres. And we'll go through the data, because Max Verstappen, we're now on lap 22. Max Verstappen, in all of those laps, doesn't match Lewis Hamilton's lap time on any single one. Hamilton is faster than Verstappen on every single lap, apart from these laps where there's the pits, the in and out laps from the pits, and when he's held up by Perez. Every other lap on mediums relative to Verstappen's softs, Hamilton is faster. And when Verstappen switches onto hards, even the lap times on Verstappen's hards are not faster than what Hamilton was lapping on his medium tyres. As a strategist, as a race engineer, surely, if your lap time is not dropping off, why on earth are you taking them tyres off? Why on earth are you, if your medium compound tyres are still capable of producing the lap times that were faster than Verstappen, that having changed onto hard compound tyres, Max Verstappen's lap times are still no faster than those that are on the medium compound tyre? Why are you changing off those medium compound tyres? Why do you throw away that advantage? Why do you put yourself in a position behind the other team's B team car? Why do you throw away the chance of being out there on track, having the possibility of a virtual safety car? A safety car deployed, you still would have the opportunity of getting into the pits, changing your tyres, getting back out in front. But in any case of that situation, the gap would be wiped out anyway. So ultimately, all the gap, all the advantage that Lewis Hamilton had have built up would have been wiped out anyway. So a safety car is neither here nor there. The moment Verstappen pits, he is now 28 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. So even if something was to happen on track, which then the FIA deployed the safety car, Lewis Hamilton would have the chance of getting in and out of the pits, and he'd still be in the lead of that race. He'd still have track position, even though the advantage would be wiped out. A pit stop under safety car would be somewhere in the region of about 16 seconds when in that first lap of the safety car, when the car's travelling to a delta. So as long as that margin of 28 seconds didn't drop below that, you've always got that in your pocket. If it was a virtual safety car, likewise with cars travelling to a delta, the pit stop time would take approximately 16 seconds as opposed to 22 seconds. Therefore, before this round of pit stops, Verstappen was 6 seconds behind Hamilton. That went out to 28 seconds. If you then pit under a virtual safety car, taking 16 seconds, you're now 12 seconds in the lead still. Your net lead is 12 seconds now when that virtual safety car period ends. Why have you thrown that opportunity away? Why would you do that, Mercedes? For every lap that you do, and bear in mind we're on a decreasing fuel load. The heavier the fuel load, the more wear you're going to put through your tyres. The more laps you do on those tyres, the more wear you put through those tyres. If this is a one-stop race, which it could well be, without the intervention of safety cars, then each time you do pit, you're throwing away 22 seconds that you have to then make back. If you're doing an extra pit stop than those around you, you're losing 22 seconds, and therefore there must be the benefit of the time that you can achieve on a different compound of tyre that can make you gain back 22 seconds in the remaining time. So you've got to lap about a second a lap faster than other people on different tyres. If, for example, you do it with 22 laps to go, and that's just to catch them. And then your soft compound tyres, well, they're going to be worn out. So it's not really a viable strategy doing an extra pit stop, because you're not going to gain those 22 seconds. So what's going on? Surely what you want to do is maximise the lifespan of your tyre if it doesn't drop off in performance, which it was showing no signs of doing. Because the longer you keep going on it, it means your new set of tyres, when they go on, they don't have to complete as many laps, and they go on when the car has got a lower fuel load, meaning that they don't wear so much, giving you a huge advantage. When Verstappen puts hard tyres on at the end of lap 13, he is doing so in a car which is still carrying a heavy fuel load, and having to ensure that that car then completes the remaining 45 laps, having started on a lower fuel load. For every lap you can keep going on those medium compound tyres, then you are decreasing the fuel load and making sure that your new set of tyres doesn't have to complete that lap. So you're going to be on a lighter car with less laps to do, giving the chance of being able to push those tyres because they should not wear as much, giving you a performance advantage. Why would you throw that away? Why would you throw that away? Unless you are part of the contrivance, part of the show, manufacturing the spectacle, because that is exactly what they did. There is not a single reason why you would do that. There is not a single reason why you would do that. And that's what they did. When those around you, they will talk about the notion of an undercut. The car that you're challenging against, pitting before you, so that then they can come out onto the track, put in some fast lap times, and then when you come out, when it's time for your pit stop, when you lose the same amount of time in the pits, well, because they've come out and put in some faster laps than what you were going at, then they've made the overtake through that pit stop phase. Now that never happened because it never got a chance to happen, but it wouldn't have happened. Lewis Hamilton, for those first 12, 13 laps, he was lapping in the 127s. Now, 128. 128. We don't have a lap time for lap 1. But from lap 2 onwards, 128.7, 128.5, 128.7, 128.6, 128.5, 128.5, 128.5, 128.3, 128.2, 128.1, 128.5, 128.2, and then he pits. And it's a 132, and a 130.2 and a 148.7 is in lap and is out lap. And then 127.8, 127.7, 127.8, 128.2, and then he gets behind Perez. 133.4, 130.4. Now you compare that with Verstappen, bearing in mind Hamilton's lap times 128s, and these prior to Verstappen pitting, 128s, 128.5s, 128.3s, 128.2s was Hamilton. Verstappen's lap times, so his lap 2, 129.1, 128.8, 129.0, 128.7, 128.7, 128.6, 128.8, 128.6, 128.8, 129.1, 129.2, and then we've got the in lap 131.5, the out lap 147.2. Now on his fresh hard compound tyres, and bearing in mind Hamilton, when he was on his mediums, this is lap 7 onwards from Hamilton's mediums, 128.5, 128.5, 128.3, 128.2, 128.1, and then 128.5, 128.2. They're the laps that Hamilton did on his medium compound tyres. Verstappen comes out the pits on his hard, 128.4, 129.0, 129.1, 128.5, 128.7, 128.3, 128.5. And that takes us through to lap 21. Where was the performance drop-off in the medium compound tyre? Well, there's no evidence of that. Where is the evidence of the hard compound tyre being faster? Well, all of those laps that Verstappen put in on the hard tyre, they weren't any faster than what Hamilton was doing on the mediums. Why would you throw away that advantage? Why would you not even wait to even observe? Why would you not even give it time to say, well, let's see what sort of times he's putting in on these hard compound tyres? We've got a 6-second margin here. Whilst we do that, we've got his teammate on soft compound tyres. We anticipate those soft compound tyres are going to wear out before the mediums that we're on. That will get him out of the way. At the point in time where they pitted Hamilton, Perez was approximately 10 seconds behind. When Perez does pit, you add 22 seconds to that. He's 32 seconds behind, so you can easily pit and get back out on track. Perez isn't a factor. Perez is not a factor. Martin Brundle and David Croft, they narrated it. They predicted everything that happened when it shouldn't have happened. If you're a strategist, there is no way you would choose to do what Bono did. And yet, Brundle and Crofty predicted that was going to happen. They told us it was going to happen before it happened. This thing was contrived. It was contrived for the show. They even tell us, I see that now as game on again. Maintain the excitement for the kiddies. The entire thing was a construct, an absolute construct. Look at the data. Look at the teams. This is what every single team did. Look at them yellow lines. The medium compound tyre. Every team that started on the mediums, ignore Giovinazzi, everybody had their role to play, but you've got Russell, you've got Latifi, you've got Raikkonen, you've got Stroll, you've got Vettel, you've got Bottas, you've got Tsunoda. None of them teams had a problem with getting those medium tyres to lap 20. None of them. And yet Mercedes threw them away. Let's go through the commentary. Okay, so I'm going to pick up where we are just about finishing off talking about the first lap incident. So we're on lap 8 of the race. You'll see in the video I've recently done where Everybody was then using that first lap incident for the first 8 laps of the race, talking about Hamilton having to give that place back and Red Bull on the radio and all the complaints about that. That was the first act of the script. Now we're into Act 2. So what we know is if you're on medium compound tyres, those medium compound tyres should be able to last at least until lap 20. We know in the hands of Hamilton, probably longer. What we know is, well, you do know now because I've told you, because I've gone through the lap times, that Hamilton's performance was not dropping off. He was consistently lap after lap faster than Verstappen, despite Verstappen being on the soft compound tyre, which supposedly is quicker. Them soft compound tyres are going to deteriorate quicker and the performance will drop off quicker. You can stay out longer on the medium compound tyre, significantly longer. That is by design. They're not as fast in theory as the soft compound tyre, but they're more durable. You know that. This is what they lead us to believe. Knowing all that, let's now listen to what Brundle and Crofty say. But we'll pick up just as a reminder of this narrative from lap 1. So here we go.
Which left no room for Lewis to make any accommodation. He had to leave the track. But I have to say, I am surprised they didn't say, give the place back.
Lewis had to leave the track, so he got crowded off the track. But he's still got to give the place back. Well, no, because if you've gained the place illegally by crowding, well, no, you don't get to keep it.
Because,
Yeah, totally. I actually agree with you.
Yeah, I actually agree. We all agree in the circle jerk, don't we? They're also they can't speak properly, can they? They all have to stutter over their words to validate something as part of the narrative.
Damon, it was a very late lunch, but it was always going to happen. Lewis knew he was coming.
It was always going to happen. Lewis knew he was coming. Why was it always going to happen, Jensen? This was lap 1. Verstappen's on the soft compound tyre. Without DRS, if Verstappen, he was started the race in pole position on what they tell us is the grippier tyre, meaning from the start line, who's got the advantage? You've got the advantage of being in pole position, so therefore you should make it into that first corner first, because you're in pole position. In addition to that, you're on the softer, grippier tyre compound, giving you yet further advantage off the start line, making it even more likely that you should make it into that first corner quicker than the other car. In theory, from what they tell us, those soft compound tyres should reach their optimum temperature quicker than the slightly harder medium compound tyre. So therefore you should be up to speed quicker than the medium compound tyre runner, and therefore have the ability to lap faster than your fellow competitor, building up a bit of a lead. Now that didn't happen, did it? Hamilton beat him off the start, took the lead, got himself in front, with several car lengths ahead at the braking zone to turn 6. Verstappen illegally sent his car into a corner, couldn't leave a car's width on his outside at the braking zone, had not reached the position that entitled him to be left track room around that corner, but he still sent it in there, as has been permitted by the FIA because they've ignored the rules of the sport to enable Max Verstappen's dangerous driving, to enable the challenge and to excite the kiddies. Entirely dangerous. He performed an illegal manoeuvre. He committed the infringement of causing a collision and crowding his opponent off the track, and they are all blaming Lewis Hamilton. An entire narrative. Hamilton was forced off the track. Had he ever attempted to remain on track, he would have been hit, impacting his race and his World Championships hopes. He then proceeded to rejoin the track in an appropriate manner, not risking putting his car across curbing, where he risked damage to his car, and not joining the track at 90 degrees to the flow of the traffic, blending into the flow of traffic, which is the safe way of rejoining. and they vilify Hamilton for that, claiming that he's getting an unfair advantage. He was in the lead. The other guy put in an illegal manoeuvre, and they're then claiming that Hamilton should have been giving a place back. That is obscene. But let's now listen to what's going to happen on the lead up to the pit stops. Who could predict Lewis Hamilton pitting immediately after Max? Let's play it through. And pay attention to these intervals. For Max at this stage is 2.3 seconds. On lap 8, he's 2.3 seconds behind Hamilton. And look at the lap times. 28.5, 28.6. Hamilton faster.
And he pushed Lewis off the track, I guess, but he stayed on the track. And I'm struggling to understand the regulations right now, because obviously in Brazil there was no penalty, but they both drove off the circuit, whereas Max stayed on the track this time.
Gentlemen, thanks ever so much. I think Jos Verstappen's also struggling to come to terms with this. He just walked out the back of the Red Bull garage as Hamilton continues then on lap 8 in the lead of this race. We've had a big controversial moment, and we'll be talking about this, I'm sure, for a long time to come.
Yeah, let's park that for now. What's interesting here is Lewis Hamilton actually has a little bit more pace as well, despite Verstappen being on the softer tyres. We thought they might be a little bit faster for half a dozen, 10 laps or so. But at the moment, that doesn't seem to be the case, unless Max is just trying to eke them out, because Sergio Perez is hanging on to them as well. 5 seconds covers the top 3. And now the strategists for both teams will be thinking long and hard. And how quickly? It's about 23 seconds to make a pit stop. But right now, anybody...
So Martin's telling you, from now on, we've talked for 8 laps about the lap 1 incident. Now we're going to turn our attention to strategy. This is Martin Brundle introducing Act 2. From now on, we're going to talk about what the strategists are going to do. A pit stop will take 23 seconds because Perez is trying to eke those tyres out as well. This is what Martin Brundle's telling you here and now. On lap 9. Well, what are you talking about? The medium compound, how many laps they will last more than the soft compound, Martin? Lewis Hamilton, the man that is in the lead of the race, has a chance of becoming a record-breaking 8-time world champion. Okay, so now he's in the lead of the race, leading by 2.5 seconds. With the advantage of tyres that will last longer, Verstappen's going to have to pit first, and that is then going to open things up for Hamilton to have a lot more choices. Looking good for Lewis Hamilton, isn't it, really?
You stop, for example, that put them down in 11th place, so they've got to get a lot further into this race yet before they can think about pitting.
Well, this is...
They've got to get a lot further into the race before they can think about pitting. Absolutely right there, Martin, but you've started talking about it straight away. You've had 8 laps of vilifying Hamilton, and now you're turning people's attention to pitting. Well, it's not viable because of the notion the field is still bunched up enough so that if you lost 22 seconds by pitting, you'd come out in heavy traffic. So you don't want to do that. You're going to maximise your tyre wear, aren't you? You're going to only consider pitting when your performance from your tyres is going to start dropping off. You've done all your testing. You know that likely these soft compound tyres are going to last somewhere between 15 to 20 laps.
Verstappen's double problem here is that if he is having to pit earlier than Hamilton because his tyres won't go as long into the race...
Absolutely right, Crofty. The soft compound tyre is not going to last as long as the medium one, and this is Verstappen's problem.
He's going to put himself into traffic if he pits in the next 4 or 5 laps. They don't want to be doing that because it'll hold up his pace.
We started struggling a little bit.
And on cue, the F1 TV. It's amazing, isn't it? Where Brundle and Crofty say something, and F1 TV reinforce that by having queued up what Max is saying to his teammate. It's incredible how they do it in Formula 1, isn't it? In the formula, everybody, the formula. Brundle and Crofty tell you something, and here's proof of what they're saying because we've got this queued up. This is what we took as a recording. Do Brundle and Crofty know that they've got that queued up when they're then pausing? They're pausing for, oh, wait on a minute. F1 TV want to play a radio message. We don't know what they're saying, but we'll pause. We'll let them interject with this important message, everybody.
That's not what they want to hear on the pit wall at Red Bull. Rear's starting to struggle. He'll lose grip. Coming out of those slower corners might lessen his pace down the straights as well.
Yeah, in other words, the surface is overheating, goes a bit like a jelly, and you start to slide around. You turn in, the back end comes around on you a bit. You touch the throttle, you can't quite get full traction until a good way out of the corner, until the downforce builds up. But they have no option but to stick with it for now. They've got to clear the pack before they can consider a pit stop. Now, otherwise there'll just be in so much traffic, but they're lapping around.
It's not just the traffic, Martin, it's the notion that every time you stop for fresh tyres, if you're not doing it under safety car, it costs you 22 seconds. Now, the newer tyres that you put on, bearing in mind that you've got to do stints on these, during that stint, are you going to be able to recoup that 22 seconds? So if you do an additional pit stop relative to everybody else, is the advantage of the fresher tyres going to be able to enable you to gain the 22 seconds that you've lost? And if not, then you are actually disadvantaging yourself by putting in that extra pit stop.
1.5 seconds a lap faster than the tail end of the top 10, and that's the window they'll be looking for. 23, 24 seconds to get Verstappen in and try and come up with a new solution.
Yeah, the gap that is appearing that I'm sure they'd like to fit into is just behind Sergio Perez and just in front of Carlos Sainz, who's become something of the head of a train of cars. These are the rear tyres for Max Verstappen. Pirelli say they've got a performance life of about 15 laps from the start of this race on their...
Well, what do you know? What do you know? The commentators know the performance life of the tyres. They can tell you that. Pirelli tell us. They've got a performance life of about 15 laps, these soft compound tyres. What about the performance life of the mediums? Well, I've showed you that the other teams know that they've got at least 20 laps.
Heavy fuel and full tanks of fuel. I've seen angrier looking tyres, but I've seen shinier looking tyres too.
Yeah.
Yes, angry looking tyres, everybody.
It's the surface temperature, isn't it? So, you know, we have to accept that Max made that small error in qualifying. He made a big error last weekend. It cost him a pole there. But it was such a crazy race in Saudi Arabia. I'm not sure in the end it made any difference who was on pole at the first of the 3 starts. But and that's what's forced him in to putting these tyres on and put Red Bull on the back foot. Now they've got Perez there.
Red Bull are on the back foot. Red Bull, poor Red Bull, always the victims. They're on the back foot. What? Because he set pole time on softs, the fastest tyre, and therefore also had the advantage of those soft compound tyres with the grip to get off the line first with the extra grip and didn't. And then them tyres would supposedly fire up quicker, again giving him the advantage that he wasn't able to use. And yeah, that's why they're on the back foot.
It's like a game of chess, isn't it? They've got Perez there who could come.
They've got Perez there. Brundle is calling this on lap 10. It's like a game of chess. They've got Perez there. You show me another Grand Prix where a driver is on medium compound tyres that can easily outlast these soft compound tyres, and we're talking about the game of chess involving somebody on soft tyres that might come into it against somebody on mediums. Calling it on lap 10.
Into play and affect when
they've got Perez that could come into play. Well, how on earth is he going to come into play?
Mercedes can pit Hamilton, but of course if
let's just go through that bit of commentary again.
Got Perez there who to putting these tyres on and put Red Bull on the back foot. Now
oops,
they've got Perez there. It's like a game of chess, isn't it? They've got Perez there who could come into play and affect when Mercedes can pit Hamilton. But
they've got Perez there who could come into play, says Martin. Signpost. He's giving you the pre-warning. Why is he doing that? That shouldn't even be part of the equation. Where medium compound tyre runners can run beyond soft compound runners, why on earth would Perez come into play? Why would the expert of the sport suggest that he could come into play?
of course, if Hamilton comes out with fresher tyres, Perez will be fairly easy to...
If Hamilton comes out with fresher tyres, Perez will be fairly easy. For you to say such, Martin, you're suggesting that Hamilton's going to pit before Perez. And you're doing this on lap 10. Martin Brundle is telling us that Hamilton will pit before Perez. Well, why would Hamilton pit before Perez? He's got tyres that are going to last longer than Perez's tyres. So why would he pit before him? That is ridiculous. This is what I'm saying. This thing's scripted.
When Mercedes, they've got Perez there. It's like a game of chess, isn't it? They've got Perez there who could come into play and affect when Mercedes can pit Hamilton. But of course, if Hamilton comes out with fresher tyres, Perez will be fairly easy to affect.
But if Hamilton comes out with fresher tyres, Perez will be fairly easy to overtake. Look at that. Martin Brundle is suggesting to the audience that Hamilton will pit before Perez. It's like a game of chess. Perez will come into play. Perez will come into play. Shouldn't be. He's on softs. Tyres that are less durable. Should wear out sooner. Why are you suggesting this? Why? Because it's not a viable suggestion. Anybody that is thinking about this sport authentically, that is not a viable suggestion. And yet Martin is suggesting it. And then, wow, it happens. And it's ending. And it's ending. Wow.
Really easy target.
Assuming you can get them warm.
Yeah. But Perez will be an easy target. Good cop, bad cop. Absolutely right, Martin. Crofty, he'll validate.
Up straight away, but what is clear, there is the length of that back straight, which is well over 1 kilometre long, in between Max Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, second and fourth in this race. Running behind Sainz, his former McLaren teammate Lando Norris, Charles Leclerc running in sixth at the moment, Yuki Tsunoda having a decent race, running in seventh, Valtteri Bottas, and not for the first time this season, struggling to get past the AlphaTauri of Yuki Tsunoda, who's been rather held up back there. The wind has picked up just a little bit here as well, and a stiff breeze that you can see on the flag from the...
I look at these last laps, 1:28.2 for Hamilton, 1:28.8 for Verstappen. Gap now 3.4 seconds.
Top of the viewing tower, Esteban Ocon runs in ninth, Daniel Ricciardo 10th, and Hamilton starting to stretch the pace out in front.
And of course, there's a World Championship point for anybody who finishes in the top 10 with the fastest lap. That fastest lap will get much faster yet because they're burning down their 100+ kilos of fuel. Have a much lighter car when they put tyres on.
Absolutely right, Martin. They're burning down the fuel, and the more you burn it down, the lighter the car is when you put up the tyres on, and the lighter you can make it, the less tyre wear you're going to put through the new sets of tyres that you're putting on. The longer you do on the first set of tyres, the less the second set of tyres has to do. So maybe they can perform better for longer, especially when you're not loading them so much because you're putting them onto a lighter car. All these things would indicate that the longer you can go on your first set of tyres, the better it's going to leave you for that second stint. And if you've got tyres that can outlast the soft compound tyres for that first stint without being compromised on performance, you want to run long, don't you? That would be common sense.
There's the start for Max Verstappen. 1/10 of a second better reaction time for Lewis Hamilton. There he goes, off into the distance. Was it just the reaction time that cost Verstappen?
It just didn't get away, did it?
And this, the moment then, as well, it didn't quite touch. Hamilton was trying to turn in, realised that if he turned in even more to the left, contact would be made. Verstappen has stayed within the white lines, but...
I'm not changing my mind on that. I'll stick with... Look, the door's open, he's gone through it. He's kept completely within the white lines, and a car that was side by side with him is heading off down the road.
Martin Brundle on lap 11, still validating Max Verstappen's illegal move on lap 1. So still suggesting that Hamilton's done something wrong there. Hamilton's got an unfair advantage. Well, he's 4.2 seconds ahead now. Every lap he's been faster than Verstappen.
The trouble is, the rules say it's leaving the track and gaining a lasting advantage is what gets you into trouble with the stewards.
The lasting advantage, well, he's had an advantage every lap. Every lap that he's done has been faster than Verstappen's. That's why this gap is now built. He didn't gain a lasting advantage. He was already ahead. He was several car lengths ahead at the braking zone. Max Verstappen performed an illegal manoeuvre. That Max Verstappen infringed. Lewis Hamilton had to leave the track to avoid getting hit. He then had to rejoin the track in an appropriate manner, which he did. He then is not going to expose himself down a long straight, leaving an overtaking opportunity at the end. So he's probably eased off a little bit from his optimum speed, but he's not going to allow an illegal manoeuvre to then enable the other driver to get him later on in the lap. But no, you don't want to talk about it like that. You just want to keep vilifying Hamilton and saying, oh, that Verstappen's still the victim here.
These are great laps, Lewis. Just keep it up. Just keep the pressure
Now,
on.
Hamilton had the advantage because he was out in front. Did he give back all the advantage he gained by going off the track? That's the debate here. And if Red Bull do want to appeal this race...
If Red Bull do want to appeal this race... When have you ever heard that before? When have you ever heard the notion of a in-race situation resulting in somebody appealing the result of the race at the end? When have you heard that? If Red Bull do want to appeal, let's just go back to that.
Because he was out in front, did he give back all the advantage he gained by going off the track? That's the debate here. And if Red Bull do want to appeal this race and ask for the right for review, that's the sort of information they're going to have to find.
If Red Bull do want to appeal this race, so their driver put in an illegal manoeuvre where he was several car lengths behind, okay, and threw his car into a corner, leaving no track room for the other car. Stewards have looked at that and said, no, he's crowded him off the track. They didn't penalise Max. But no, what we've got is Crofty saying, well, if Red Bull want to appeal the result of the race, then this is the sort of thing. At the end of that lap, Hamilton was just over a second ahead, 1.1 seconds ahead at the end of lap 1. And he's now 4.4 seconds ahead. But if Red Bull want to appeal the result of that race, that's the information that's key. What the few tenths of a second that Hamilton may have gained. Because he was several tenths of a second ahead going into turn 6. And he might have been a few more tenths ahead on exit of turn 6, where he's had to go across the runoff area to avoid being hit. But who should be penalised by 5 seconds for that infringement? Oh, that would be Verstappen. But if Red Bull want to appeal, that's the information that Red Bull need to be looking at. Who's suggesting an appeal of the result of this race? Oh, on lap 12.
Force an appeal.
Yeah, I don't think there's any point in them even thinking about that. But this pace from Lewis is now a second a lap faster than Verstappen. He's waltzing.
This lap, 1:28.1. Verstappen did a 1:29.1. A second a lap.
Off into the distance anyway, such that would be probably irrelevant if it stays like this in terms of what happened on the first lap. And these are tremendously fast laps from Lewis. Look at that, 4.6 seconds. So what?
Now let's again look at it a different way. Max Verstappen started the race on soft compound tyres, the faster compounder tyre. Lewis on the mediums. The anticipation was, starting from pole position on the soft compounder tyre, Max would be leading into turn 1. The tyres would be up to temperature sooner, and therefore he should be able to pull away, lap faster, for the early stages of the lap the race, sorry, until those tyres started dropping off in performance, and then he'd have to pit sooner. But Lewis Hamilton, then in second position, might get the opportunity, if he can stay with Max on those medium compound tyres, which aren't as fast. So already that would be a struggle to stay with Max. They've already said in them first 8 laps that the plan was for Max Verstappen to be out the front and build up a gap, right? Well, he's not demonstrated that he's capable of that through any of these laps. He's outside the dirty air, and he can't stay with Lewis Hamilton's pace. So that's all not coming true, is it? And Lewis Hamilton then on the medium compounder tyre would have to try and stalk down the car that's in front on the soft compounder tyre. And then he'd have the opportunity of the DRS. We're now on lap 12. The performance level of Max's tyres is now dropping off by a second a lap. Okay, Lewis Hamilton could have waited for 10 laps, been 2 seconds behind Max Verstappen, outside of the dirty air. Okay, and then when Max's tyres are dropping off, Lewis can then get in the DRS zone and use the effect of DRS to make an overtake at the end of that long straight into turn 6, with Verstappen's tyres no longer having the grip. And then, being on the medium compound, he can keep going, can't he? Keep going for several laps, because Verstappen's had to pit earlier. That's how the race would play out, wouldn't it? When you look at that race from the outset, one car on softs, one car on mediums, that means we anticipate the car on softs is going to lead from the start, maybe have the early advantage, but then the more durable tyres should then enable the car that's in second place either to make the overtake on the track when the soft compound tyre kind of shows signs of wear and the performance drops off, or when that soft compound tyre leader pits, the medium tyre compound runner inherits the lead and then stays out on track for several laps, benefiting from the prolonged longevity of those tyres, and then that one will then give them the advantage later on in the race of having the fresher hard compounder tyre, where their performance in the latter stages of that race, based on the wear of those hard compound tyres, the soft compound tyre runner of Max Verstappen having to put them on a lot earlier, therefore them being worn a lot more due to having to start with a heavier fuel load and carry out more laps, compared to one where they have to do far less laps and actually are put on with a lighter fuel load, resulting in less wear to these hard compound tyres, means that in the latter stages of that race, the person who started on the mediums should be far more advantaged on those hards in the latter stages. That's how you would view that race from the outset. That's how, if it was a one-stop race with no interventions of safety car, that's how you would look at how this race was likely to unfold. Lewis Hamilton being significantly more advantaged in that second phase of the race on tyres that were less old and less likely to be worn due to the fuel load that they were put on them. And the key here as well, another key here, is in those laps that he inherits the lead, where the soft compound tyre runner has had to pit because their tyre performance has dropped off, at that stage, can Lewis Hamilton do an overcut on the mediums by lapping fast on those medium compound tyres for several laps to then make sure that by the time he then pits, if he wasn't already in the lead before the Verstappen pit stop, he puts in the times that are faster than what Verstappen's capable of doing when he comes out on the hard compound tyres, to then make the ground, which means by the time Lewis Hamilton then goes and pits, Hamilton comes out in the lead on the better tyres. There's your dynamics of the race. That's the reality of the situation. And what are Brundle and Crofty talking about? Not talking about that, are they?
What that means, Crofty, is that they've got, with that kind of gap, whatever Red Bull do with Verstappen, Mercedes can wait another lap.
Whatever Red Bull do with Verstappen Mercedes can wait another lap. Is that all the difference you've got? They're on softs, we're on medium. That gives us another lap. No, it gives you another 10 laps. Why is Martin Brundle, the expert of the sport, suggesting on lap 12 that whatever Red Bull do, Mercedes can wait a lap? Why are you presenting to the world that Mercedes can wait a lap? They can wait 10.
So what that means, Crofty, is that they've got, with that kind of gap, whatever Red Bull do with Verstappen, Mercedes can wait another lap.
Is Bono listening to Brundle for some advice on strategy, is he? Oh, Martin says we can wait another lap. Well done, Bono. Bono's decided, oh, what Red Bull do, we can wait one lap and we can then do the same. Oh, so you're not thinking about, can we keep going on these medium tyres? Is the performance dropping off? No. Would it give us much more benefit to keep going on those tyres? Oh, yeah, it would, wouldn't it? Would it bring into the play the notion of us even having the opportunity to get a much cheaper pit stop, even extending our lead, were there to be an incident such as a virtual safety car, or even wave yellow flags at a certain area of the track, whereby, drivers have to slow down a little bit. And if we've passed that, okay, and Verstappen's then encountering that, because he's now 28 seconds behind us, so I'm to slow, and we've gone past that and speed up again, and then get into the pits and out again, we can extend this lead. Oh, let's throw all that away, because whatever Red Bull do, Mercedes can wait one lap.
Yeah, wait another lap. They've got there'll be no undercut by somebody going out on fresher tyres and getting ahead of you because.
No, because he's on softs, which are faster than mediums, and mediums should be faster than hards. So if Max is going to do one stop and go on to hards, they're a slower compound than medium anyway. And it's only when the medium start dropping off, really, that you're going to see the problem. Are we seeing the medium dropping off? Are we waiting to see whether the medium drop off? Why are we proposing an undercut when you're already 4.7 seconds behind? Do you think you can undercut in one lap? One lap makes you undercut 4.7 seconds. Not a chance.
They'll have enough, slack in the system, enough fat in the system, if you like. If he can get himself towards 10 seconds ahead, they can then just casually react to whatever Red Bull do.
Lewis needs to be 10 seconds ahead. Then they can react and they'll have enough slack in the system. Just listen to all this again in full.
Another lap, they've got there'll be no undercut. With that kind of gap, whatever Red Bull do with Verstappen, Mercedes can wait another lap. Yeah. Wait another lap, they've got there'll be no undercut by somebody going out on fresher tyres and getting ahead of you because they'll have enough, slack in the system, enough fat in the system, if you like. If he can get himself towards 10 seconds ahead, they can then just casually react to whatever Red Bull do.
So, we're talking about Hamilton versus Verstappen here. Look at the way they're directing your mind. As long as Lewis can get about 10 seconds ahead, then they can react to Max. How much does he need to be ahead of Perez to make sure that Perez is not in the equation? Can he do that because of the tyre compounds? Oh, yeah, he can, can't he? So, well, that's all about. Yeah, let's play.
In the grandstand is quite silent at the moment. The Red Bull garage looking a little bit despondent.
Oh, rear tyres are really struggling.
And Verstappen,
okay, understood, mate,
having to work very hard indeed to try and keep pace with Lewis Hamilton. Scores are level going into this race. As it stands at the moment, Lewis Hamilton would be an 8th world champion.
Oh, it's nice of you to say so. Scores are level. As it stands, Lewis Hamilton would be a record-breaking 8-time world champion. Breaking a record, a long-standing record of Michael Schumacher. We were in 2021 now. Michael Schumacher retired in 2006. And he didn't win in 2005 and 2006 because they were Alonso's championships, were they not? When did Schumacher win in the last of his titles with Ferrari? I don't know off the top of my head. but it's got to be before 2005. So we're talking at least 17 years. This world record of 7 world championships has stood, and Hamilton's on the verge of breaking in it. But Crofty's not telling the world just how what significant accomplishment that is.
Hard indeed to try and keep pace with Lewis Hamilton. Scores a level going into this race. As it stands at the moment, Lewis Hamilton would be an 8th world champion in Formula One, an 8-time world champion. Verstappen's bid for a first world title crown is being thwarted, but there is...
Verstappen's being thwarted. We'll focus on Verstappen, shall we? As you do all race. Verstappen, Verstappen, Verstappen. He's got nothing to lose. Verstappen, Verstappen, Verstappen. Nothing to do with the guy that is going to break all of the records of the sport.
There's a long, long way to go. We're only just starting lap 13. Long way to go under the lights here in Abu Dhabi tonight. As Verstappen...
So, 128.5, 129.2. 0.7 of a second faster that lap. Gap out to 5.1 seconds.
Verstappen makes his way around turn 1.
Well, we thought these would go probably 20 laps, didn't we, before they were crying too much. They've obviously done 3 in qualifying anyway. So sort of 15, 16 laps before I'm surprised that Max is struggling so much, so quickly with them. And, well, what a pain it's proven to be for them, having to give away. That is so frustrating for Red Bull. They didn't even need to be doing that lap that he was on when he locked the front left tyre into turn 1.
Yep, it's forced a change in strategy and it forced them onto the back foot a little bit. Ted, down to you.
Max Verstappen not the only one who's struggling with his soft tyres. Lando Norris has been on the radio saying they're okay, they're all right, but he's struggling to keep pace with Carlos Sainz ahead of him. Now dropped to 3 seconds behind the Ferrari of Sainz has Lando. Fernando Alonso's been on the radio saying that something feels wrong with the front of his tyres.
Listen to this. Fernando Alonso has been on the radio saying something feels wrong. Now, Fernando's down in 11th position. He's at 1.7 seconds behind Daniel Ricciardo. Listen to this.
Front of his car, he's on the hard tyres. Maybe they're not up to temperature, but we'll have to follow that one.
Maybe his tyres aren't up to temperature, suggests Ted Kravitz in the pits. Yeah, he's done 13 laps. Yeah, this is his 13th lap. Oh, maybe they're not up to temperature, says the expert Ted Kravitz in the pits. Narrative. It's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
See what's going on with Fernando. He's P11 at the moment.
And I wonder if George Russell...
Yes, maybe he's struggling because after 12 and a bit laps, they're not up to temperature. But yeah, is that going to be a problem for everybody?
Struggling too, down in 18th at the moment.
Fernando, we keep losing gears. This might continue to happen.
This is another thread that goes through. Oh, Lando Norris. Lando. So, Crofty, are we in for another tyre twist? We keep losing gears, Lando. Poor Lando, but don't worry, Lando. Ultimately, you play your role in this one. You'll get your turn, Lando. You'll get your turn.
Oh, well, that's not what you want to hear when you're trying to keep the Ferrari of Charles Leclerc at bay as they make a move into the pit lane. Down at Red Bull is...
the Red Bull pit stop. Okay. So now Max goes into the pits. He's 6.2 seconds behind Hamilton. Last lap, 128.2 for Hamilton, 129.2 for Verstappen. Remember, 128.2 for Hamilton. And we'll reel off Hamilton's lap times from the start of the race. 128.7, 128.5, 128.7, 128.6, 128.5, 128.5, 128.5, 128.3, 128.2, 128.1, 128.5, 128.2. I don't see a performance drop-off, do you?
Max Verstappen coming in? Yes, he is. Lap 14 of 58, and Max Verstappen about to make what should be his one and only pit stop of this race. The hard.
So, one and only pit stop, meaning that he's got to do 44 laps then on the hards, okay? With a heavy fuel load to start off, causing additional wear on those tyres, because you're, going into the corners with a heavy load, and that's going to cause a lot of scrubbing, yeah? If you're not smooth. The more you can eke out the mediums, you put them hard tyres on with a lower fuel load, causing less wear, and the tyres have got less distance to have to cover, less laps. Oh, that's going to be much better for Lewis, not having to then nurse them tyres to the end for 44 laps. Oh, no, we can push them. And then can we push these medium tyres that have been going? They've not been in the dirty air, have they, these medium compound tyres? So they've not been scrubbing more than they should, because he's having to cope with being behind these cars, like Yuki Tsunoda, in Charles Leclerc's dirty air, 1.4 seconds behind, and therefore that impacting his car's aerodynamics, and therefore meaning his car's not supplanted, and therefore might be moving around in that dirty air, wearing the tyres more. Oh, Yuki's still on them after 20 laps. And it's not the same as Valtteri, who's 1.8 seconds behind Yuki in the dirty air, therefore not getting the same aerodynamic efficiency out of the car, and therefore not planting those tyres on the ground as well, and therefore them tyres are sliding around, causing more wear. But yeah, Valtteri's still capable of using them after 20 laps. Funny that, isn't it? Funny that.
Tyre goes on, and he'll come out, hopefully for Red Bull, if they've got their strategy right, ahead of Carlos Sainz. Perez slips through into second place, but the Ferrari making its way down into turn one. He's not going to come out ahead of Carlos Sainz. Where is Max Verstappen going to come out onto this track? He goes underneath it now. He's trying to put the power on.
So the interval was 6.2. It's now 28 seconds. So it's a 22-second loss through change of tyre. From being 6 seconds, 6.2 seconds behind Hamilton, he's now 28 seconds. So bearing in mind a 22-second stop, if Hamilton pits 22 seconds, he still comes out with a 6-second lead. 6 seconds is significant. That gives you the opportunity of having a few laps and seeing what's what. You're still got fresh air ahead of you. This is Lewis Hamilton on this bar at the bottom, where it says more videos at the bottom. Ahead of Lewis Hamilton up the road is Mick Schumacher, but he's significantly behind Mick Schumacher. So it's not as though he's approaching the back markers anytime soon, and the notion of lapping cars is going to be a problem impacting Hamilton's lap time. And Mick Schumacher's running on his own. He's well behind Russell and Latifi. Well behind. So Mick Schumacher would get the blue flags. He's not fighting with anybody, so he'll just jump out the way. And then it's a long, long way then until Hamilton comes across Russell. So Hamilton's lap times aren't going to be impacted by back markers for a significant period of time. That's not a part of the equation. He's in clean air. He's on tyres where the performance, if anything, seems to be getting faster due to the decreasing fuel load. His lap times are getting quicker. 1:28.5, 1:28.5, 1:28.5, 1:28.3, 1:28.2, 1:28.1, 1:28.5, 1:28.2. They're certainly not getting any slower.
And onto the track he goes now. He is ahead of one Ferrari, but only just as Charles Leclerc goes off. And maybe a bit distracted by Verstappen coming onto the track. Leclerc going very, very wide, losing a place to Tsunoda, locking up going into turn 5. He didn't get past the Ferrari of Carlos Sainz, did Max Verstappen, but with Charles Leclerc going wide like that, he could stay ahead of that Ferrari and easily passes Lando Norris now to move himself back up into 4th. Meanwhile, Yuki Tsunoda and Charles Leclerc are having their particular battle. Tsunoda staying ahead, but only just.
So the pit exit here, the weird pit exit underneath.
Okay, Lewis, so box.
That's what I was talking.
What? Just Bono? Why? Why box? Why? There's just no reason. Absolutely no reason.
about they can just react and copy whatever Red Bull do.
Why would you do that? Why would you copy? You're on a different strategy. You're on different tyres. That opens up far more possibilities to you. That gives you an advantage of being able to remain on track, meaning if it is a one-stop strategy, which is what you've suggested is there for Max, you can make sure that when you do go on to your second set of tyres, you're going to get a massive advantage because of the actual tyre wear. Max is going to have to make them hard tyres go for 44 laps, starting from a heavy fuel load. You've got the opportunity of doing 20 to 25 laps on these medium compounder tyre, taking it to a position where you have only got to do 30 to 35 laps on a hard set of compound tyres, starting on a much lighter fuel load, giving you a significant tyre advantage. Why would you throw that away? Why would you throw that away, Bonington? You're supposed to be Hamilton's friend. You're playing your part in the show. You're playing your part in the show.
As Leclerc comes back underneath Yuki Tsunoda, but the pit exit feeds straight into the outside of turn 3, and that is the problem there.
So Sergio Perez will stay out and will go on to take the lead.
So from being a 1:28.2, because Hamilton's pitted, then obviously you enter the pit lane prior to the final turn. You then have got to hit your pit lane speed limiter. So this lap time here, I think is measured where the start finish line is, which is still the equivalent line in the pit lane. Hence, it's showing as a 1:30.25. And then the other half of that pit stop is measured on the following lap, the out lap. So you lose some time on the in lap on that time measurement, and some time, a greater portion of time on the out lap. But that's why it's shown as a 1:30.25. And you'll see with Max's, when it comes round for Max completing this first out lap, how slow it is.
This race, neat stop by the Mercedes crew, 2.4 seconds stationary time for Lewis Hamilton. Has to trundle down the pit lane at 80 kilometers an hour. Now he can get the power on, but not too much power because that tunnel is very, very tight indeed. He disappears out of our view temporarily and will come onto a racetrack in the wide open spaces of this racetrack because he'll be ahead of Carlos Sainz.
So he's come out on track. Remember, he was 6.2 seconds ahead before the pit stop of Verstappen. Now you've got Sainz 2.3 seconds back and Max a further 2.9 seconds back. So essentially now Max is only 5.2 seconds behind. Now that time would have been lost in the pit lane and on the pit stop. His lap time, I mean, this lap time 1:30, 1:47. These aren't reflections of what speed they were going around the track. This is the time lost through the pit lane and the pit stop. We won't see this pan out properly.
In the Ferrari, Verstappen's made his pit stop, he's fourth. Hamilton's made his pit stop, he's second. And if you're a Sky Q or a Sky Glass customer and you're just joining us this afternoon, well, if you press your red button, you can watch the highlights alongside the live action. And this is Charles Leclerc as Max Verstappen comes out of the pits. Yeah. Was he distracted? Was it something to do with the car?
Now he got a swapper on. Look at that. He turned into 3 and had to counter steer into a massive slide. Remember, he's got some overheated soft compound tyres on there as well, and it was.
Look how far Hamilton is behind Perez now. 11 seconds. Was a medium compound tyre runner pitted before a soft compound tyre runner. Bono, and it's box, 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 box. Part of your strategy, why are you not factoring in? Well, we don't want to even allow this guy to be in the equation. We've got plenty of life left in the mediums. Keep going on them. Surely him on the soft, they're going to wear out fairly soon. His teammate, they wore out pretty soon. We'll soon see all the other soft compound tyres wearing out and having to pit soon. Why have you thrown that away on Hamilton, Bono?
Quite the save for Leclerc there, but yeah, maybe he was a bit urgent as well, trying to get past, hoping to get past the Red Bull exiting the pit lane, but don't know, it kind of feels game back on now.
It kind of feels game back on now. There you go. It kind of feels game back on now. This race has become reinvigorated. Lewis Hamilton took the lead, was 6.2 seconds in the lead, with the advantage of being able to remain on those medium compound tyres, keep going on those medium compound tyres, potentially extend that gap, pit comfortably in 5 to 10 laps time, come out still in the lead with fresher hard compound tyres, and therefore be able to lap faster than Verstappen all the way to the end of the race. An easy victory for Hamilton. But now, having pitted Hamilton the lap after Verstappen,
Bit urgent as well, trying to get past, hoping to get past the Red Bull exiting the pit lane, but I don't know, it kind of feels game back on now.
it kind of feels like game back on now. How you can manufacture a Grand Prix to keep the kiddies excited all the way through it. How you can keep a worldwide audience not get bored during. Oh, is this what Grand Prix racing is about? Somebody takes the lead and then just stays in the lead all the way to the end. Yeah, that's not very exciting. I don't think we'll bother watching one of these again. Oh, but Lewis can pit the lap after Max, and it's game back on now, everybody. It's game back on now. Kind of feels like game back on now by doing it this way. And it's box, 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 box.
To me.
Well,
Okay, Hamilton's pitted. Plan A. Correction. Plan B. Plan.
Oh, plan A. Oh, this is highly complex, technical sport. Don't you worry, little head. Those of you who are new to the sport, this is the complex strategies from the pit wall. It's either plan A or plan B, or it could even be plan C. But you won't know. It's too complicated for you. It's plan A, plan B, or plan C, or plan D, or crazy. You couldn't work this out. You couldn't work this out.
B.
yes, plan A might have been to come into the pits. Plan B is to stay out there, and maybe Sergio Perez now can help Max Verstappen if Hamilton catches him by not going quite as fast as Hamilton. And
Oh, we're calling it straight away. Isn't it strange as well that, this Checo being an absolute animal, F1 TV have clocked onto that straight away. So Hamilton's just pitted onto the hard compound tyres, and F1 TV have gone, oh, let's play the world the message of Red Bull telling us that Perez might now be a factor.
Okay, Hamilton's pitted. Plan A. Correction.
Red Bull to Perez. Hamilton's pitted, now plan A. Oh, correction, plan B.
Plan B. Plan B.
yes, plan A might have been to come into the pits. Plan B is to stay out there, and maybe Sergio Perez now can help Max Verstappen.
10 seconds behind. Plan B now, Checo. Plan B.
If Hamilton catches him by not going.
And it's amazing, like I say, that F1 TV are signposting what might now happen, everybody. All of these things that, Mercedes might now pit one lap after Red Bull. Now that they've done that and thrown away their tyre advantage, Perez might now be the man that blocks off. It's amazing that all of these things they think might happen, then happen. Incredible, isn't it? You couldn't make it up. You couldn't make it up, could you?
Quite as fast as Hamilton, and just try and slow up the momentum for Lewis Hamilton. And as it stands at the moment, that momentum is gaining and gaining and gaining with every lap.
He might just be able to slow up Lewis Hamilton's momentum.
And there's not much that stopped him so far.
Yeah, you have to assume they'll leave Perez out in the hope of slowing Hamilton down in a few.
Yes, you'll have to assume they'll leave him out in the hope of slowing Hamilton down.
2 laps time. Verstappen's catching his old team.
Yeah, you're not talking about why have Mercedes dropped the ball here? Why have they pitted Hamilton? Why would you do that? You know, why are the sports commentators going, yeah, you'll have to assume that Red Bull will leave Perez out. Well, he's got the soft compound tire. Surely his tyres are starting to go. They'll leave him out. You have to assume that. Why are they not saying, what were Mercedes doing here? What were they thinking of? Why would you then put Lewis Hamilton in a position where he's now got to overtake one of those Red Bull cars that might be looking to slow him down? You're on medium compound tyres. Nobody else on medium compound tyres has pitted yet. Why did you need to pit him? His performance didn't look like it was dropping off and needed to pit. Why would you do that, Mercedes? Why aren't Brundle and Crofty asking those questions? It's rather bizarre. What are the questions they're not asking? What are they narrating? What are they directing you to think might happen? And then it happens. Why aren't they clearly just pointing out the things that are very questionable and dubious and wrong? Rather strange, isn't it? You see, this is the thing. You're not encouraged to think about, well, if this was actually happening and it was real, right? What would be authentic here? What would be authentic strategy making, authentic decisions to be made if you were in this situation? How would you be dealing with this situation? Why would you throw that away? If you're on the mediums and you could last at lap 25, why would you bin them off after 14 laps? Why would you do that? Now it's game on. It's game on. It excites the kiddies. It keeps the global watching audience excited throughout this to make them think that Grand Prix racing is really exciting. You know, we'll have to wait till 2022 and 2023 where we allow somebody just to, you know, be in a much faster car and then just drive off into the distance without anybody able to challenge, and just tell everybody that's because he's just the best you've ever seen. The best you've ever seen. Yeah, but here we've got to make people believe that Grand Prix racing is exciting every single lap all the way to the end, even down to the last lap of a race. Grand Prix racing is amazing, kiddies. Come and be attracted to this sport. Spend your money on this.
Teammate Carlos Sainz in a hurry now. Verstappen in the low 1 minute 28, so he needs to pass the Ferrari very quickly as the other Ferrari of Charles Leclerc makes its first pit stop.
As does Esteban Ocon too.
So like I said about this lap time, Hamilton doing a 1:48 on his out lap, where obviously a significant portion of that lap is coming out of that pit lane, and then Verstappen's down to 1:28.49, so 1:28.5. Now that Verstappen's on this hard compounder tyre, remember on the mediums, before Hamilton got rid of them, lap 8 onwards, 1:28.5, 1:28.3, 1:28.2, 1:28.1, 1:28.5, 1:28.2. That was showing no signs of dropping off. The other drivers aren't dropping off, are they?
Neat stop once again then for the Ferrari crew, although 3.4 seconds, lost a little bit of time there. I'm sure that the likes of Norris and Sainz might be coming in a while as well. Ocon is out, Leclerc is out.
That's because they've got the soft compound tyres on. Yeah? So then soft compound tyres are going to wear out, and you'd have thought you could have kept the mediums on for longer than Perez's softs, wouldn't you?
15th and Ocon is 17th. Ted, down to you.
Yeah, Charles Leclerc's stopped. They lost a bit of time on the rear. I think it was the left rear. The tyre was a bit slow going on. We're expecting to see whether Lando Norris reacts to the Ferrari, the one that was behind him pitting. We'll see in a second. I've had the line from Mercedes, guys. Do you want to know their view on the lap 1 shenanigans?
Well, I think everybody wants to know that, Ted.
Yeah, because, you know, we're all kind of, well, in any other race, in any other series, Lewis would have had to give the place back. They don't see it that way.
In any other race, in any other series, Lewis would have had to have given the place back, says Ted in the pits. Talk us through Austria 2021, Ted, where Lando Norris pushed a car off the track, crowded a car off the track, Perez, and he got a 5-second penalty for it. Talk us through Perez from Red Bull crowding Charles Leclerc off the track twice in that race, receiving a 5-second penalty each time he crowded him off the track. That you're presenting that in any other race, Hamilton, the guy who was crowded off the track, would have been the one having to give a place back. He started that corner in the lead. He got pushed off the track. What is he giving back?
Understandably, they say it was a lunge from Max. He pushed Lewis off the track. I point out, well, they didn't touch. They said they didn't touch.
Well, that's illegal. Oh, but they didn't touch. Well, but they didn't crash, so it's okay. No, it's not okay. You've got to leave track room. That's the rule. But I didn't touch him. Yeah, but there was no room on the track because he jumped off the track to avoid getting hit.
Only because Lewis avoided the collision. He tried to turn in, couldn't take his line and couldn't get round the corner, so had to go off and go across the runoff.
That's what happened. That's what Mercedes say what happened, because that's what happened, right? But you're presenting it, oh, well, this is just Mercedes' opinion. But they would think that, wouldn't they? Because that's Mercedes. But everybody else, is saying the opposite of that. But it's just Mercedes, but they're biased because they like Lewis, because it's just them that think that. You filthy bastards.
The view from Mercedes, take it as you will.
But that's what Mercedes think. Take that as you will.
I used to call that motor racing.
So nothing wrong with it whatsoever then?
I made my point. So, yeah, you can look at that either any which way that suits you really. But Verstappen, oh, look at that. Max then in the penultimate corner in the dirty air of the Ferrari, pushing hard. He said to me, actually, on Saturday night that in race conditions that penultimate turn 15 is a bit of a handful. It certainly was then. It was a handful of opposite lock.
It certainly.
Indeed. Right. Hamilton then, on his now hard compound tyres, 127.8. Mediums that he started the race on, he was doing 128.5s down to 128.2s. So he's a bit faster. But what's Max doing? Well, Max is still in the 129s now. Made a bit of a mistake then, but he hasn't made it down to the 128s, 5s and lower that Lewis was on their mediums, and showing no signs of slowing down from the 128.5s. How many more laps could Lewis have done on those mediums? By staying out 5-10 laps more, not putting himself behind this Perez. Oh, the exciting bit. Losing 8 seconds through what Perez's driving was. Dangerous, erratic driving. All part of the show. All part of, well, that one's Act 3. We'll do the video of Act 3. The Checo Perez defending. That's your pit stop strategy. That's Act 2 of the entire show. It's a construct. You wouldn't be saying the things that these commentators are saying unless it had been constructed that way. You wouldn't be making the decisions that Bono from Mercedes is making unless you are complying with a narrative. The Sky Sports commentators are suggesting a strategy which is not a viable strategy. It's not the strategy you would choose. You're on the mediums, you can go for longer. What are you suggesting? Oh, you can just go for one more lap than whatever Red Bull do. And then Mercedes just do that. Red Bull pit their car on, we'll just go for one more lap than what they do. Throwing away every opportunity. Now, Sergio Perez might slow down and may come into play. And what happens? Oh, Sergio Perez slows down and comes into play. You couldn't make it up, could you? Yeah, couldn't make it up. Unless you did. which they did. Anyway, at some point relatively soon, I'm going to do Act 3. Checo Perez defending. Then we've got Act 4. We've got this virtual safety car situation where Max goes on to yet another set of tyres for that part of the narrative. Are Max's much fresher hard compound tyres going to be the defining factor now? And whether Max gained 6 seconds illegally when he should have been travelling to a Delta for that virtual safety car, and that was never pointed out. And then obviously we've got Act 5, which is the Nicholas Latifi crash and all that accompanied it. Remember, that race, after the Nicholas Latifi crash, it is highly likely that it would have restarted without them having to break the rules if Nicholas Latifi's car had not caught fire. You can plan these things. You can work out how long these things are going to take. Yes, there's averages, but you can actually be more circuit specific. You can calculate it, but if something unforeseen happens and there's no smoke without fire, then that can thwart your plans. I mean, everything else seemed to be planned, and everything else seemed to be going according to plan until something caught fire and ruined that. So in order to make the plan actually happen, to actually manufacture this World Championship going down to the last lap of the last Grand Prix of the season, to keep the kiddies excited and attract the new breed of fan, you've got to break the rules to do that. Set it up. The entire thing is a contrivance. Thank you once again for your time. More to come soon. Cheers.